Coming up in our next half hour, a former general who went to Capitol Hill to call for Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld's resignation. Plus, a congressman who claims that 80 to 85% of mosques in this country are controlled by Islamic extremists. Our top story coverage moves now to the controversy here in Washington over one key congressman's claims about Muslims in this country. Representative Peter King, the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, has said that the vast majority of mosques here in the U.S. are controlled by Muslim extremists. And that's only the beginning of the charges he's making, charges that are causing a lot of outrage. Jason Carroll has more.
It's the holy month of Ramadan, and this is the image Muslims here say truly reflects who they are: law-abiding, peaceful people. Not as their own congressman claimed in a recent campaign letter, part of an Islamic threat that could cause another 9/11. And New York Republican Peter King has also said, according to law enforcement sources he spoke with, 85% of mosques in the United States, including this one, are run by extremists.
Where is this 85%? Who did the study? On what basis? What questions were asked? And how did you come up with this number?
Several members of the mosque agreed to speak to us about the claim.
It's very painful to have a senior politician to make those statements without really having any direct interaction with the community.
You have extremists in basically any community, any belief system. So what? You deal with them accordingly.
A federal law enforcement official agrees that there are some extremists in American mosques, but dismisses the validity of 85%, saying it was much too high.
Do you actively try to seek out those who may have extreme thoughts or extreme points of view?
Do we conduct interviews with all the people who come in and out? No. But if we hear something, and I haven't heard anything yet, believe me, I'll be the first to call the FBI.
There's another concern King has raised. He says the mosque fosters 9/11 conspiracy theories, that the CIA or Zionists may have been behind the attacks. But of those we interviewed, just one had reservations about who was behind the terrorist attacks.
How do we know they did it? I mean, it was just, it happened like instant. As soon as the towers fell, it was like Muslims did it. How do you clarify? How do you prove that?
Well, who do you think is responsible for what happened?
I don't know. To this day, I don't know.
A recent Zogby poll showed 42% of all Americans believe the government is covering up something surrounding the attacks. So Muslims here wonder, why focus on them? The national director of the Council on American Islamic Relations says this is about King trying to win re-election.
It's very disturbing to see a member of the United States Congress exploit the anti-Muslim prejudice and fear within the society just to get a few more votes and some money.
So during this holiest of months for Muslims, some here will be praying for forgiveness and the hope there will be more understanding. Jason Carroll, CNN, New York.
And joining me now, the man stirring up all the controversy, Representative Peter King. Welcome. Representative King, I want to start off by reading from a letter that you wrote to your constituents this month. And you said, because I have put aside political correctness and spoken out against these radical leaders, I have been denounced by Muslim organizations as a Muslim hater. Are you a Muslim hater?
Absolutely not. In fact, I work very closely with a number of Muslims, but you were talking there to the Islamic Center of Long Island, which I actually had a very close relationship prior to September 11th. But despite what people like Dr. Khan were telling you tonight, the fact is throughout the fall of 2001, people like Gazi Kankan, who is the interfaith director of that mosque, said that there was no proof that Al-Qaeda or Muslims had attacked the mosque. He said that Mohammed Atta was alive and well in Emirates, that two of the other hijackers were alive in Saudi Arabia, that the FBI knew this and was covering it up. And he also said that the Zionists, the Jews, could well have been responsible for it. The co-president of that mosque was peddling the rumor that Mossad was behind it all. Dr. Khan, who you saw tonight, was the president-elect at the time and the most prominent spokesman at the mosque. He never once, during that entire time, in any way rebuked Gazi Kankan, who stayed on as the interfaith director, and today as an individual is still saying the Mossad could have been behind the attacks. And my basis for the 85% was Sheikh Kabani, who was one of the leading Muslims in this country back in the year 2000, said that he thought at least 80% of the mosques were taken over by extremist leaders, by radical Muslims.
All right.
And that has been my experience.
But we heard him also say those numbers are absolutely preposterous. You still stand by that 85% statistic?
I'm saying that Sheikh Kabani, who was, again, he testified back in the year 2000 and said that. And I'm telling you, I know of any number of mosques in New York where the police are very concerned about them, where there are radicals in there. And absolutely, yes, I stand by that number. It was 80% back in 2000. Based on the radicalization since then, it has to be, I have no doubt, I have no problem at all in saying it's 85%. If it's not 85,
all right,
it's still 80.
Let me close with this. You just heard in Jason Carroll's piece that Muslim leaders are accusing you of stoking this kind of fear to get elected and fund your campaign. Absolutely. Your reaction to that?
Absolutely untrue. I've been saying
your opponent thinks that's the case.
I've been saying this I can say what he wants. I've been saying this for a number of years. I've been in this debate with people like Dr. Khan and the Islamic Center of Long Island going back 2, 3, 4 years. What they did was absolutely outrageous. I've said this time and time again. This is nothing new. What I've been saying now is consistent with what I've been saying for the last several years. And Dr. Khan comes out of a mosque where his interfaith director said that the CIA and the FBI were behind what was happening. They knew that Mohammed Atta was still alive, that he knew that the other 2 hijackers were still alive in Saudi Arabia, and he implied that the Zionists, that's the Jews, the Israelis, were behind that attack. Dr. Khan never once rebuked him, never once.
All right, we've got to leave it there. Congressman King, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Paul.